Hello, hello, hello. I am John. This is my show, A Sports Reckoning. Okay, so that's Justin Gamble Gamble. He's not really white. He just appears white on the computer screen. So, um, Justin Gamble just made a video. He says, oh no, sorry. This is a different video I clicked on and shit, right? But he was saying he was exposed and shit. I don't know. But then he comes on here and he's I can't believe the fucking like this shit, this propaganda bullshit that come out of these losers' mouth and shit, right? First he's saying like, I don't do any drugs and shit. I don't do anything, right? And then he has to come back and clarify. Oh well, yeah. Well, I eat some marijuana edibles and shit. And then I don't know the thing about like with alcohol. Now, look, I'm gonna be clear to you guys. I've done some hard fucking drugs in my life. I've never, the only thing that you could ever accuse me of being like an addict is marijuana. But marijuana, it's literally, see, my dad was a fucking chemist and shit, right? There's shit where he would explain things to me because my dad was a, like, oh my God, my dad was such a bad drug user. See, it's funny when you people don't know, it's like my dad literally worked at Compton College. He worked in the chemistry lab at Compton College, right? And like the reason he was one of the reasons he's so into chemistry because he wants to know the chemical composition and how everything works with drugs. That's what a lot of people that are into drugs, they really want to know. Like, what are these drugs? How do they work? How do you combine it? Like a lot of shit like that, right? So my dad was all into chemistry and drugs and shit, drug code. My dad would come from the 60s era, right? The hippies and shit, right? So there's just a lot of drugs. So, but then as I got older and stuff, and I learned more about drugs, or I would start having experiments with them and start using myself a little bit. Then I would talk to my dad about things. Like, for instance, one of the things is like speaking about LSD. See, like you learn the stuff. Like I know LSD is lysergic acid. But I don't. The D is always the tricky one and shit, right? With me and shit, right? But you know when people talk about like magic mushrooms, okay, well that's psilocybin. Okay, so that's what happens when you start using drugs. You start actually learning the real proper name. It's like, okay, magic mushrooms. Oh, that's psilocybin and shit, right? And you know, and like I said, LSD is like lysergic acid and shit, right? There's just so much stuff, but you instantly realize that drugs are really good, right? People have been using drugs forever, and actually, a lot of the most artistic, creative, genius peoples have had real bad drug problems in their life. They've experimented with drugs. They've got drug problems their whole life. They're lifelong drug users and shit, right? So any of this fucking notion that drugs are bad for you and stuff, that's bullshit. What's bad for you is drug addiction. Drug addiction. And so they always say, oh, you take one hit, you're hooked. You know why they say that? Because as soon as you take that one fucking hit, it is so good. It's so good. And then you want more. And then so it's like there's a Depeche Mode song. It says, never let me down, never let me down. You know, you never want to come down and shit, right? And so, you know, I'm taking a ride with my best friends. And that's what drugs, man. And so it's like, so instantly, like when you hear songs like that, when you're using drugs, you're instantly attracted to like music like that and stuff like that and everything. Drugs is just a massive part of the culture. Now, drugs should be legal and everything should be done properly. Now, like marijuana now is becoming legalized and stuff, right? You know how many fucking good jobs, like, you know, all the people I see at the weed shop and shit, dude, you can look like whatever the fuck you want. It's one of those jobs that it doesn't matter what the fuck you look like. Your appearance absolutely doesn't matter. You get to dress in a more casual type of thing. And if you don't want to work in the weed shop, well, then they got the grow house. They need a whole bunch of employees working over there too. So if you want to totally look crazy and shit, right, you can go work at the fucking at the grow house and shit, right? There's lots of jobs. And this is all in America. It's manufactured in America. All the jobs and stuff, workers making good money, all bunches of jobs, alternative jobs that you don't have to go to college to learn how to do it. All kinds of shit like that, right? So, and then all that money, then the government taxes it. So now we're getting all this money into the taxes. That's an incredibly great system. But the government wants drugs to be illegal so they can create alternative lifestyles of these criminal fucking gang organizations. Those criminal gangs and stuff, they don't they don't exist in shit if you legalize drugs and shit, right? I mean, it's totally different of like what's going on. But there's all kinds of things that are bad. Like the people that when they get you hooked on the drugs, yeah, now they've got you. That's a big difference. But and then there's a big difference between like a normal person that's in the neighborhood who's just trying to make a little bit of money and selling the stuff, right? Between a gangster who sells drugs. You know, like the perfect example is like, what was that show they had about uh, I didn't watch it all the time because I've lived it and stuff. That show about the methamphetamine and the doctor, the guy he was Mr. What was his name? It's like I said, I didn't watch it enough and shit, but it was that show they had on TV. I'll tell you the concept. The guy was the teacher. He was like a chemistry teacher. He's like my dad and shit. That's exactly. He was just like my dad and shit. He's like Tim's chemistry teacher. So he knows all about the chemistry and stuff. And so he makes that blue meth and shit, right? Then he gets hooked up with the mafia and then with the Mexican mafia guys and shit, right? The cartels. And then they start forcing him to work with them because they're the big producers and shit, right? So there's no doubt, like when you know the drug culture and shit, right? The Mexican mafia, you know, the cartels, they have taken over that methamphetamine business and shit, right? But the only reason why they could take it over is because it's illegal. And then it just fucks everything up. With it being illegal, then you get people put in jail. They want people in jail. And look, if there's no crime and people are all happy, how do the politicians scare you to get you to vote for them? Because that's what they usually do. Oh, you got to vote for me because I'll take care of this. And it's like, well, dude, if there wasn't those problems, if things were done properly and shit, you wouldn't have those politicians. You wouldn't have those problems. Then the goddamn politicians would actually happen to be telling you the truth and show you that they're smart and the quality. We would get much better quality of people. But no, they come in with their stupid shit. I'll take care of the problems. Dude, you caused the problems. You're the one making the fucking laws that are outlawing the shit, which creates the fucking illegal drug market, which creates the fucking drug cartels, which creates the prison system. It's bullshit. So you got this loser, Justin. I guarantee you what happened is Gary Vaynerchuk, because Justin Gamble right now is sucking cock of fucking Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So I guarantee you, I was the first one that told you when Justin Gamble came in here, I wrote a song. I said, Justin Gamble likes to suck on big cocks, drinking all his money, so he does it a lot. Taught by his mother back when she was still hot. Justin Gamble likes to suck on big cocks, right? Instantly, as soon as he came in here, boom, then fucking that's the song I wrote. Why? Because the fucker is a drunk. And now let me tell you, when I was talking about drugs and shit, right? I always get off track and shit. I go off track, all this stuff, right? Okay, but like when you talk about like LSD, like hard drugs, right? Okay. Now, I don't want to drive it when like on the first 2 hours where you're tripping balls and shit, right? I've had to drive a couple times where like one time I was in Glendale, Los Angeles, right? So we're in Glendale and we take some acid. So you got like 30 minutes before it's going to hit you, because usually what would happen about 30 minutes in, boom, we would smoke some weed, and then like as the weed's kicking in, it just kicks the weed in, and then it's boom. I mean, it's just the weed kicks in the acid and shit. Boom, next thing you're tripping and shit balls. Next thing you know, you're tripping balls. And at that point, once you start tripping those first 2 hours, you do not want to drive a car. That is like so fucking dangerous. It's so crazy because this is like how it was. Like it's so you're so fucked up that you totally can't feel yourself like walking. You're like disoriented, and there's a lot of disorientation shit going where you literally don't know. I would have to like revert back to my primitive brain and just be like, okay, you know, in the real world, you're just standing there in the real world, even though you're tripping out and all this fucking shit's going on, right? And it's like all this shit's going on. But you always got to remember, in the real world, I'm just a human being. I'm just standing here. And people don't know I'm tripping balls and shit, right? You're like, in the real world, somebody's looking at me and they just see somebody just standing there, right? So that's what you got to resort back to. And it's like, okay, you got to resort back to just understanding that you are in the real world and you're just standing there and walking. It's like, okay, I know how to walk and shit, right? I know how to walk. And so you start walking. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're tripping balls. Fucking world's trippy. You're in fucking trippy acid fucking world and shit. The cool world and shit. So you're tripping balls. But it's like you got to resort back to like your basic fundamental things. Be like, okay, I know how to walk. I can walk where I don't even need to know how to walk. I can walk. And you start walking and shit, right? Like I can tell you this funny. There's so many stories. when we were like in Glendale, like that wasn't my area and shit, right? So I'm with my friend who's a gangster, and then he had other gangster friends and shit, right? So it was like there was a weird dynamic of people I would hang out with and shit. So this day I'm hanging out with my gangster friend and one of his real gangster friends, right? These two gangster motherfuckers, right? And so we're gonna go see a movie. That's what we would do a lot of times. We'd go to the movie theater, we'd take the acid, smoke some weed, go to the movie theater, and chill out for an hour and a half, 2 hours while we're just tripping hard. And then you come out of the theater and then you feel great. Yeah, everything's great and shit, right? You're still tripping, but it's not like the same and shit, right? So we go, we're driving, we smoke weeds, and it's like boom. It's like, okay, we're getting out of the car and the shit's starting to kick in. I'm starting to trip in balls, right? It's like boom. It's like that thing where I'm having a hard time just walking to the movie theater. It was hard just to walk to the movie theater, right? And I usually drove the car because I was the clean white boy with the license and shit, right? That's why I would hang out with my drug dealer friends, because they liked me driving their cars, and then they would smoke me out. Back when you're poor and shit, it's like, dude, you pay for my weed and you pay for my food and shit. I'll fucking hang out with you and shit. I'll drive you around and shit, right? Because I'm not carrying the drugs. So it's like, well, I don't have the drugs on me. So if we get pulled over and shit, I'm like, as long as drugs ain't on me, I should be pretty good and shit, right? So I drove us over there to this movie theater, and they're telling me where to go. I didn't know that neighborhood so much, right? So we get out the car and we're tripping ball. Now we're tripping. And we walk up, and like I said, I was struggling even to walk to the theater. We get to the theater and it's abandoned. It's totally closed down. It was like, this was one of the funniest, when you're tripping balls and shit, and then we're going to the theater, and then boom, it's abandoned and closed down. I mean, the fucking hilarity of laughter. I mean, it was so fucking funny. It's like one of those moments in time and shit, right? Laughing our asses. It was so fucking funny and shit, right? Because then my friend's like, oh, all right, this isn't the right theater. It's the other one. It's like down the road and shit, right? Oh, man. It was one of the fucking funniest shits ever, right? So we go back to the car, and I'm fully tripping balls, hard tripping, where it's like, dude, I can't drive now. I cannot fucking drive, right? So then the other gangster dude, he's like, all right. He's like, all right, suck it up. That's how they say, suck it up. And he drove and shit. And I was like, all right, I'll take a ride in the car with you, but I ain't fucking driving no fucking way, man. I'm straight tripping balls, right? But the other guy drove us like down the street whenever we got to the other theater, and then we had to do it again. We had to walk into the theater, and I was so fucking baked. It was so hard just to walk. Like I said, you don't even know. You have no concept except just understanding. Like, okay, I'm here in the real world, and I'm walking. I'm tripping balls and shit, right? So there was that time, and there was another time I was with my friend there in Glendale, and his girlfriend. So we're like 30 minutes. We're like 30 minutes. We're just getting ready to smoke some weed and start the tripping hard. And then my friend says, oh, we got to take my girlfriend home. She lives over in like East LA from Glendale. It's far enough where it was like, fuck, are you fucking serious, dude? I'm like, dude, we're going to start tripping here soon. So it's like, and fucking, so sure enough, so it's like, all right, let's go. And so I'm driving and shit, right? So we get there, we drop her off, everything's cool. We're not tripping balls yet. As we start coming home, we start tripping and shit, right? Then I'm like on the freeway, and it's night, and the fucking lines are like drifting and shit starting to move. And it's like, uh-oh. I'm like, I'd already just be like, fuck, dude, we got to get back because I'm starting to fucking trip. And this is not cool. I don't want to be driving while I'm tripping balls and shit, right? Okay, but so the reason why I was trying to convey that message to you of really being intoxicated like that under a hard narcotic is that alcohol is by far, it's not even fucking close. Alcohol is by far the strongest and worst drug I have ever fucking taken. I don't drink at all. No, for you to get me to drink and shit would be really, really hard. I do not drink and shit, right? Ever. I don't drink anymore. When I drank when I was young and shit and stupid and had my experiences and shit, and I just straight fuck alcohol because I love smoking weed and shit, right? So I was like, fuck alcohol. I'm not a fucking drinker. The only reason for me to ever drink after that was because I was trying to fucking fuck some bitch and shit, right? So you're like, all right, I'll have a fucking few beers just so I can fuck this bitch and shit, right? But I never really liked that either. It's like, fuck that shit. I don't like smoking weed, and I want to hang out with chicks who smoke weed. I don't want to hang out with chicks who drink and shit. But Justin Campbell, he drinks heavy. And that's one of the things I've said in the beginning with him is that people that drink that heavy usually are under the influence of like a methamphetamine or cocaine. They're usually got some other drug in their system, right? because he's a heavy, heavy fucking drinker. And when he's coming out now trying to act like he's not a fucking drinker, it's like, what? Oh, is that because you had your meeting with Gary Vee and Gary Vee said, hey, you need to make sure that you've got a clean image because we're trying to lie to people so we can steal their money. That's the whole fucking trick, right? So then now Justin Campbell, I'm a good boy. I don't do any drugs. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. You drink alcohol. That is the worst fucking drug there is out there. It's the worst one. And you're fully promoting alcohol. I would much rather have people go through drug experiences because then you understand how it fucks you up. It happens quicker because it's such a good drug. You want to be on it 24/7 because drugs are good. You can be high all day, every fucking day and shit, right? But when you start doing that, you burn out. It doesn't last as long. Where alcohol, it's more like they do it at night and shit, right? Then they recuperate during the day. Like coffee. Here's the thing. You'll never see me drink coffee. There's like Justin Gamble saying, I don't do drugs and I don't do this and stuff. It's like, dude, and I'll tell you, I've done some drugs and shit, but you know what I don't do? Never. You will never see me drink a cup of coffee. I've never drank coffee. I never drank energy drinks. I would never drink that stuff. Never. So whenever I see somebody drinking coffee in the morning, I just look at them like, you're a fucking drunk loser. You're a fucking alcoholic. Because you need that coffee to wake your ass up because your stupid ass was fucking still drunk from the fucking night before, right? So you see people drinking coffee, drunk, fucking loser, right? Then Gamble, he says, oh, why? I do some weed edibles and shit, right? But it's legal. Well, dude, just because the drug becomes legal, like, okay, that's in Colorado, you can go get magic mushrooms and shit. Now it's legal there. Oh, so now magic mushrooms aren't hard drugs anymore because they're legal? It's just like, shut the fuck up. And then Justin, what he says, it's not like I do 100 milligrams. And he said he only does 5 milligrams. It's like, you don't do just 5, you do 10. I doubt he would ever do 5 milligrams. That's such a small amount. But the fact that he knows that 100 milligrams is what, when you buy edibles, it comes like in a package of 100 milligrams. And it's usually broken down into 10 little pieces and shit that are 10 milligrams each and shit. The fact that he even knows that shows you how much he's actually around it and shit, right? How much he actually uses it and stuff, right? So fuck that shit. Justin Gamble, I'm not fucking, this what I'm going to say here. I'm not saying this because I want a record deal and shit, right? I just fucking, I respect you as a songwriter. See, I'll talk shit about Justin Gamble and shit, right? But I talk good about him too. If he does some shit that's cool and shit, I'll tell you the good shit of what he actually does do that's good. But one of the things that I have an issue with is that you told a story about when you were young and you were going to see a concert in Chicago and you live like in the white bread suburbs shit, right? So you're not in the gang and the city culture. You're not in that environment and shit, right? And you told a story about taking your dad's really expensive camera and you went to a concert to see some band in Chicago. You had to take the train down there and you're carrying your dad's expensive camera equipment and you get there and you go and tell the guy, oh, I'm here to take photos of the band. And then they said, well, let me see your press pass stuff. And then somehow you said, well, I got the camera. Of course I'm pressed. Look at the camera I got, right? And then you said somehow they let you in. And that whole story, I'm like, that sounds like a story like if his dad was like a CIA agent and his dad was like, okay, here's your mission for today, son. I need you to go take this camera, go to that fucking arena, whatever it is, where you're going to be playing the concert and shit. And he's like, just tell them that you're the media and I want you to get in there and go take photographs, right? See, that's the kind of training of which a CIA agent would learn. But in reality, and remember, this is after 9/11. See, Justin Gamble's still too young and shit that he doesn't really know a lot of shit that like us older people have went through. And so when you start telling your fucking stories, it's like, boy, I could smell that fucking shit on your breath. What kind of bullshit is that, right? It's like, shut the fuck up. So after 9/11, you weren't getting in with some bullshit story into a club. Fuck no. Things changed. Security became much fucking stronger. They ain't just going to let you in. It became, like, I worked at the casinos when that happened. Like, I literally was working in the sports book at the time when 9/11 happened. I actually got a week paid vacation because 9/11, then all the sports games canceled. So I got a week off of work and my company paid me and shit, right? So because of 9/11, I literally got a week's paid vacation. It's like one of those things, right? But right after when I worked in the sports book, because you're in the casino, So they used to train us on about money laundering. They were always telling us to look out for like money laundering and there's a thing called like suspicious activity report. There's shit that you got to look for that. But so there was like around that suspicious activity type of training, and you're looking for people money laundering, because there's also like runners and shit. Runners that are like, there's people that are the big bookies in other states, and they want to hedge off of their bets and shit, right? So they take a lot of action to even their action out. They have a guy called a runner, who's a guy who makes large bets for the actual bookie that's out of state and shit, right? And he'll be making large bets to like even out the person's thing. And then they look for lines and shit, little advantages. There's all kinds of shit that you deal with, like in Vegas. There's a lot of shit going on. So there's like the runner people, you learn them when you're in the sports book. That's where they do the shit. So, and I was a cool guy and shit. So they would like me and shit. And I would always treat them nice. I'd always be nice to all these people and shit. I'm not trying to fucking scam. But what happened is after 9/11, all of that money laundering operations of what they would teach us, train us for, that instantly stopped and everything became terrorist. And it's like terrorist activity. We're in the casinos. Why are we looking for terrorists and shit? There's no terrorists here and shit. I mean, obviously every place is a target and shit, right? But it's like, dude, they're not, the terrorists aren't in here laundering money. Those are the gangsters from Chicago and shit that are the gangsters from New York, the bookies who are out here laundering money and got the runners working for them and all kinds of shit like that that's going on and shit, right? But they started, like, what I'm saying is like, it instantly turned to focus on terrorism kind of shit. And Justin Gamble is saying when he was young, he went to this club and he got in because he did some story. And it's like, if he was able to get in, it's like, well, why? I don't believe that he would have done. You're going to tell me his dad's going to let him take his fucking $1,000-$2,000 camera, whatever it was. I'm sure it was expensive. He hyped it up like it was expensive. It's like, you're telling me your dad just let you take his camera? He just let you take it to go into the city? That doesn't sound right, unless that's some kind of CIA training operation of what he was doing, because that's what you're going to have to learn as a CIA. You're going to have to learn how to adapt and overcome, and you're going to have to learn how to fit into environments where you're not comfortable and shit, right? And then when Justin Gamble gets into USC film school, he said he had sent his like application to a bunch of other schools, and USC would be like as prestigious as a film school. That would be one of the real big ones. Like I know other people went to New York, NYT. What's NYT? In New York. It's MIT though, I think, right? Because I think like Oliver Stone went there and shit, right? So I think he went to that film school and shit. But places like that, these would be like elitist type of places, right? USC Film School would be one of them and shit, right? So he can't get in there because he's got some kind of Asian descent, because you're talking about Los Angeles and shit. There's all kinds of fucking Asians running around there. So that's not going to get him in there. But he said he had sent his application into a bunch of other schools and he was rejected. And then somehow he got into USC. And it's like, oh, well, because I personally think that that's one of those places where it's a training ground for CIA agents and shit, right? That they're not just training him how to be a fucking film director. He's actually getting indoctrinated and brought in through the CIA and shit, right? Which maybe his dad had connections. Somehow he got in there and shit, right? How did you get into USC Film School, right? That's what I'm saying. How did you even get in? Because you're the one who told us clearly that nobody else was going to accept you, but then the most prestigious school just accepts you, right? So these are like the questions, real questions that you ask people and shit, right? He ain't going to ask no real questions. He's just going to sit there and drink his fucking alcohol all night and partying up, lying to the public, saying, I don't do any drugs. Good, here, buy another bottle and shit, right? Like I said, alcohol is the worst, strongest drug I've ever taken. Dude, anytime you take any other drug, you can relax for a while, the drug will wear off, and you're going to be okay, right? Alcohol knocks you out uncold, boom, you're fucking done for. You ain't going nowhere. Once you're wasted on alcohol, you're done. You're spinning, the shit's spinning. You ain't getting better. It's going to be a long time before you get better and shit. You're all fucked up. Drugs, alcohol is horrible. What happens to every party I went to, there was drinking? Fights break out every single fucking time. It's horrible. Dude, you got bitches being raped all the time because of alcohol. It's fucking horrible. But Justin Gamble, I'm a good boy. I don't do drugs. But here, look at me, drink this and drink this all the time and shit, right? So I just want to clarify that up and shit, that he's full of shit is what he is. He's full of shit. But I did want to mention, Justin, like what it's like, dude, Justin Gamble, yeah, some of your songs, you have some songwriting ability. Most of the shit that you write is for the stupid loser fucking people. So those songs, even though you got your little catchy fucking hooks and shit, to me it's really, really low grade. Like, your guy, you're talking that Arizona Zervis guy. Like, okay, I looked him up. He's got that song Roxanne. That song sucks. That song's garbage. Who the fuck? And I know it's got hundreds of millions of views. I get it. You think it's got hundreds of millions of views. And I'm like, yeah, hundreds of millions of views from fucking idiot, brain dead, fucking moron losers. Because that song fucking sucks. I don't give a fuck about that Roxanne. That's garbage. That song ain't gonna be popular. That's not a song that would be ever on a classic hits fucking, it's not a real song. It's not an instant classic and shit. It's bullshit. It's garbage music. So most of the shit you write is garbage, trash, fucking music. That's the people that you're trying to sell your fucking bullshit image to. Garbage, trash, loser, fucking morons and shit. So fuck all that bullshit, right? But I did want you to fucking, before you would come in here, I wrote this song over here. It's like, it's right there. It has the picture of it. It says, I Love Sports Cards, original song by A Sports Reckoning, right? Just like I think it's a cool little song and shit. I think it's a song that you should listen to. You're in the sports card, you're in the sports card community, and you're a professional songwriter. And I'm just like a dude. I'm like a nobody dude. And I would say, yeah, listen to that song. It's a cool little song. I'd like to hear your opinion about it. I don't want a record deal. I don't want you saying, yeah, let's record it now. I just would like you to hear it because I'm going to trust your opinion more than I trust other people's opinion. Yeah, I would trust you. You're in the card market. You know about songs. I'd be like, yeah, I'd like to hear your fucking opinion about that, Gamble. But I can't ever come onto your page and put a comment because you blocked me like the bitch. This is the other thing. Every single motherfucker out there, they always say, oh, I don't. It's like, dude, I welcome. Put your bad comments. And you know what? All those people that say that, they've all got me blocked. All of them. And it's like, fuck, who the fuck am I? How do I do this? That even everybody that says I like the negative shit, and how come they all block me? And your bitch ass Gamble, because I'll never treat you with respect because I made some really quality fucking videos for you. And your fucking ass reported me and tried to get all the videos removed and shit because one of my videos got pushed by the YouTube algorithm, which I don't even try to do any of that shit. And you got mad because your video didn't get as many views because fucking Sports Reckoning's video got pushed by the algorithm. Oh, I gotta report him and shit. Yeah, like the CIA agent you fucking really are, right? So you can't trust any of these motherfuckers. Everybody who he acknowledges that he respects and shit, they're all fucking losers. They're all frauds, pulling all kinds of scams. Your fucking Card Collector 2. I exposed his buddy who, Card Collector 2, like, tried to recreate Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow. I got to have a sports card bar and shit. Oh, okay. You're going to have the card bar. Remember, the word in there is bar, card bar, and he's selling to kids. And he's going, well, it always look like a bar in here. And who did that? Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow. You walk right into Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow. He's got alcohol bottles sitting right there and shit, right? I asked him, it's like, dude, I made videos for him saying, Card Collector 2, you better watch out because you're hanging out with Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow and he's putting his hands on kids and he looks like a fucking pedophile, like serious shit, hardcore. When I say the shit, I am not joking. The motherfucker is putting his hands on kids and enticing them to bring other kids to him to build a group so Jimmy can funnel cards to him. And he's got this, I don't like people touching me. Get your fucking hands off. As a kid, you always know the creepy and the creepy fuckers and they touch you. Get your fucking hands off me, you fucking creep. Right? And so I was the only motherfucker in here who said, that creepy fucking piece of shit Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow's got his hands all over this kid on a fucking video. And he's telling you, we're going to set up a group and the kid's going to do it. He's all, the kid's going to do it. The kid's going to bring, and he's going to call it the Rack Pack. Okay, now we know Rack Pack is a thing in cards, right? But sounds just like Rat Pack. What's the Rat Pack? Oh, a bunch of guys like Justin Gamble who run around debauchery, sexual events, and drinking and partying. The same exact culture and the environment that Justin Gamble shows you all the time on his ship. That's what the Rat Pack is. So Jimmy's going to start a club with these kids and call it the Rat Pack. It's like, that sounds like the Rat Pack. What the fuck are you trying to get these kids into? Next thing you know, he's gonna be partying with them, drinking. Hey, I'm the cool guy and shit, right? So you can what? Sexually molest them? And then a fucking card collector too, he won't say anything. He won't say anything to any of the world, or never would say anything. Hey, you should be aware of Jimmy. He does put his hands on kids, and that's not accepted. Would card collector 2 ever come out and say, Jimmy's putting his hands on kids, and that's not acceptable in any fashion? I don't even care if you're mentally ill or whatever. You got to be seriously mentally ill. You got to be fucked up. You better have you better be like a Down syndrome fucking motherfucker. If you got Down syndrome, okay, I'm gonna cut you a little bit of slack and shit, right? Anybody else, keep your fucking hands off the fucking kids. No, but what does Ryan do? Jimmy's the best guy in the fucking sports card community. He pumps them up and promotes them and shit, right? It's like just feeding the fucking kids to the monster and shit, right? And who's the new loser piece of shit in here trying to participate in those fucking group? This Justin Gamble motherfucker. So you do your fraud as fuck, Gamble. I see right through your fucking shallow ass. Everything about you fake as fuck. Except, like I said, I'm pretty sure you know that I've told you this. I sent you the message and shit. I'm pretty sure that you know. I had to go into eBay. I found his card in eBay and shit, right? And I fucking sent him a message through eBay to his account because he blocked me and shit. I was trying to send him a message and shit, right? I told you in that thing, that song you've got that is the fucking On the Beach in Malibu, that was a cool fucking song. And it's like one of those things too. It's like at that time, and I don't like to give myself any credit and stuff. I don't think so, but whatever. I'm not going to say it because it's really nothing and shit. I think there is something there involved with me. I'm not going to say it because it really doesn't matter and shit, right? I'll give you your credit. You know how to write you definitely are a professional songwriter. You're a professional songwriter, much more like credit than me. I'm not a professional songwriter. I'm just a loser and shit, right? You are a professional songwriter. You're in the music industry. I see shit that you've done. I watched all your old videos. I seen you at Capitol Records and shit. I saw all the shit. I saw what you did. I seen your fucking t-shirt company, your bullshit, your 1340 bullshit story. That's the stupidest story. My hotel room, 1340 and shit, right? So yeah, I wonder what 1340 really fucking means and shit, right? It probably means some fucking other secret CIA fucking coded shit that we don't know what it fucking actually is. It's probably some other fucking shit too and shit, right? But yeah. But with you, Gamble, it's like, dude, all these people in here are losers. Everybody you talk to, all this shit, they're all losers. I'm the only person in here that's got some hardcore shit that's the realest motherfucking shit. And it's like, dude, I tell you, I have proven that Michael Jackson's real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. If you are so dumb as fuck to not understand if that story's true, if you don't understand if that story is true, how big of a fucking story is, not only have I done that, because I now know who Michael Jackson was, I'm actually explaining his songs. Like I can actually tell you that Diana Ross is Billie Jean. I can explain that song in a way that is nobody's ever even come close to understanding what it was about. But I've done Billie Jean, Beat It, Want to Be Starting Something, Leave Me Alone, Dirty Diana, Stranger in Moscow, fucking bunch of them. Like all those songs are Michael Jackson songs. I have really explained them in a way that nobody ever could have ever done before, because you had to really understand the mind of Michael Jackson, and that was something that nobody ever could do. Childhood is a big one. I explained childhood on the way that fucking nobody ever could fucking understand before and shit, right? And have you seen my childhood? I've been searching for the world that I come from, because I've been looking around in the lost and found of my heart. No one understands me. Now, right there, Michael Jackson says, he's talking about his childhood, right? And then he says, no one understands me. And you just simply, this is just a test, Gamble. Go ask somebody, anybody, say, when Michael Jackson says he doesn't have a childhood, say, what do you think that means? And they're going to say, oh, well, he didn't have a childhood. He had to work so hard. Every single person is going to be robotic and programmed answer that's in their head. They're all going to tell you exactly the same fucking answer, what childhood is. But Michael Jackson, in his own words, he said childhood. He says, if you really want to know me, listen to Childhood. He said it's the most autobiographical song I've ever written, which is a lie. I am the only person capable of telling you that that's a lie because Billie Jean is actually that song. But he can't tell you that it's Billie Jean because Billie Jean is the song that actually explains when Diana Ross told him the truth that she was his real mother, that Michael's the kid in the song. And Michael was 11 years old. He was living in her house and shit in LA. That's what the whole fucking song is actually about. But he can't tell you that because that song is, but I'm the only person that got actually qualified to say, no, he's fucking lying. Billie Jean is by far the most autobiographical song he's written, but he wants to guide you to Childhood because in the song Childhood, what he's trying to convey to you, he's saying no one understands me. So any person, right, that instantly invalidates any person out there that thinks Michael Jackson speaking about not having a childhood, thinking that it's related to having to do band practice and stuff like that. You're wrong because Michael Jackson just told you, have you seen my child and all this stuff? No one understands me. So none of you do not understand what he's talking about. What he's talking about is the childhood of which he should have existed with his real parents, Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. He was not raised with them because he was abandoned as a child so they could fucking go and build Motown and become stars and shit because it happened right in the beginning stages in the creation and development of Motown. If you know, I don't think you know about the history of Motown, Gamble, but just real quick, August 1957, Smokey Robinson meets Berry Gordy in Brunswick Record Studio. Smokey's doing an audition at Brunswick because that's where his favorite artist is signed to, Jackie Wilson. Berry Gordy is the primary songwriter writing all the hit songs for Jackie Wilson, but Berry Gordy is just a songwriter. So Berry Gordy happened to be there that day. He's turning in some new songs. He's not Motown. He's just a songwriter at that time. He gets to see the Smokey audition, but the Brunswick turns Smokey down. Berry Gordy goes after him because Berry knows that's what I'm looking for. And he's like saying, you got more songs and you write your own songs? He knew what he was looking for. And then that's where Motown gets built. It was from that meeting that's where it happens. He starts working with Smokey and boom, they build Motown together. That's August of 1957, which Michael's born in August of 1958. So a few months after Berry Gordy meets Smokey Robinson, Diana Ross gets pregnant because she literally, this is facts. This is not even argumentative, nothing. Diana Ross lives a few doors down from Smokey Robinson, and Diana Ross is best friends with Smokey Robinson's niece named Sharon Burstyn. So because of Diana Ross's friendship with Sharon, Diana Ross can stay the night over at Sharon's house, but that's Smokey's house. It's the same house. The Sharon, his cousin, she lives. It would be his niece, actually, is what it is, because it's his sister's daughter. She lives with Smokey Robinson. And Diana Ross, I've got her proclaiming that her first love, her first real love, was Smokey Robinson. And she tells you exactly when it was. We know that's when it was because Diana moved off of Belmont on her 14th birthday, which is March 26th of 1958. So I got the hardcore details of this shit. My story is the most incredible fucking shit there is. But so Diana got pregnant right as Smokey's trying to build Motown with Berry Gordy. So at that time, he's like, dude, we can't build our company around this lingering scandal. I can't take a chance to build my whole company around you. The next thing you know, the scandal breaks that you got a 14-year-old girl in the neighborhood pregnant. You got a kid from a 14-year-old girl. Say, that's not going to work. So that's the motive. What would they do in that situation? How do you resolve that? You give the kid away to Joe Jackson, who's only 200 miles away in Gary, Indiana, but that's out of state, and he's going to another family. That's how Joe then starts to, as soon as Michael shows the talent, because the people even say, oh, no, well, Tito was playing the guitar first. Yeah, but you don't know the real story. As soon as Michael comes in the house, Joe stops working at the steel mill, and he starts to reform his band because he sees no talent in his children, and Michael is just a baby. He hasn't shown any talent. He never was building the group. That was never happening. That only starts happening when Michael comes into the house. When Michael comes into the house, Joe stops working at the steel mill. Joe reforms his band. But Joe's an old guy and he does blues music. And when you know Berry Gordy hates the blues. Berry Gordy hates the blues. He was into jazz when he was young. He had a record store called the 3D record shop. Was it the 3D? Because I think jazz was in there for some reason. But he sold jazz records. I've heard him in his book talking about that he sold jazz music. And all the guys were like, why don't you sell blues? Because blues was the hip music at that time in the black culture too. But he didn't like blues. And so Joe Jackson's a blues guitar player and shit, right? So Joe Jackson, he tried to reform his band, and then he's trying to think, I'm going to go to Motown because then I got this deal with Berry, and he's going to give me no. Berry's like, I ain't just handing out fucking record deals. And you think Joe's just going to throw away the raising of the kid? You know he's getting some money and shit. There's got to be something. He's not just going to ruin everything and shit. So then, still, Michael doesn't show any talent. So Joe Jackson goes back home, and he starts training his children how to play the guitar. That's how Tito, because the story about Tito secretly playing the guitar and the guitar string breaking, once you look back at it, you know that's a bullshit story, because there's no way as somebody who's a stern father figure like Joe Jackson, who only would own one thing, and that's his guitar. That's his outlet to his dreams and his aspirations of getting out of the ghetto. The only thing that gives him any of that stuff, and it would be his guitar. The only thing he owns that's still his and that shit would be his fucking guitar. And I guarantee damn well sure none of the kids would have touched it. And if they would have touched it, Catherine would have fucking said no. But Catherine says, oh, well, Tito was just playing the guitar. And I was just like, okay, don't hurt it. Bullshit. Because Joe, every adult knows that when you walk back into your house, you know where everything is in that fucking house. Anything's moved, I know it. Who touched my fucking guitar? Who touched my guitar's ass whooping time? And then when the kids, if the kid, because you know kids are, the kid would say, Mom said I could do it. Joe would be like, you said he could play the guitar? Bang, bang, boom, bam, boom. Whooping some fucking Catherine ass. That's the fucking real world. That story could not have possibly happened. But what happens? My story. After Joe gets turns down, he comes back home and says, hey, who wants to start learning how to play the guitar? So Joe starts to train Tito how to play the guitar. That's where the band starts to form, but because they still don't know the Michael thing. But he didn't instantly go on the road. He's not just like, okay, we're going on the road and okay, we'll get one of the girls to sing. He's not building a band. He doesn't know exactly what he's doing yet. That's why as soon as Michael shows that he can sing and he's got real talent at 5 years old, now Joe knows what we're doing. Oh, we're going to build a band. We're going to Motown. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing because that was the kid that was given to him from Berry Gordy. And I don't think he knows that Diana and Smokey are the parents. I don't think he knows any of that. But Berry Gordy's the guy who owns Motown. Berry gave him the fucking kid. Now they probably met Diana, but would they have known her when she became the singer of the Supremes? Would they have looked back and been like, that's her. That's the Diana. Oh, there's another thing about Michael's name. Because there's a big story about that Catherine's parents named Michael, Catherine's mother named Michael, right? So that story, what they're saying, if that's true, they're saying that Joseph and Catherine never sat up at night having discussions of what the naming of their child was going to be. And then they just get to the hospital and the mother says, oh, let's name him Michael. And Catherine just says, okay, without having any conversations with Joe, like Joe has nothing to do with this. But the real story is Diana named Michael because the Miracles, Smokey's band, who Smokey's the father, they were originally called the Matadors. And then they had to change their name when they went to Motown. They would start doing that stuff, and they came up with the Miracles, right? If you take the word the Miracles, you can spell Michael's name from the word the Miracles. That's where Michael's name, Michael the Miracle. That's where Michael's name comes from. Diana Ross named Michael, and she created his name from the spelling of the letters of the band that his father was in, the Miracles. And if you think that that's just a coincidence, not. Because if you take the letters, the Miracles, and you use those letters to try and spell any other family member from the Jacksons household, Catherine, Joe, and all the children, you cannot do it. It doesn't work. The Miracles, you cannot use those letters and spell any other children's name in the fucking Jacksons. People think, oh, you think that's just a coincidence? But you know who it does is Michael the Miracle, because his dad is Smokey Robinson. Diana named Michael. That's why there's the name fucking thing that takes place in there and shit, right? So I'm saying, I've got the best fucking story that there is out there, and it's less than a year ago, so it's like 8 months ago, a reporter asked Smokey Robinson in The Guardian. Smokey's doing an interview for The Guardian magazine, a big fucking publication. And then the reporter says to Smokey, you want to give me a comment about the rumor? Smokey says, what rumor? The reporter says, the rumor that says that you and Diana Ross are Michael Jackson's real parents. And Smokey was like, whoa, holy shit. He says, oh my God, it's fucking incredible. But one thing he sure as hell doesn't say is, that's not true. No, he was interested. He was so interested that he then stops doing the interview and he says, has Diana heard about this? I'm going to call her right now. He literally starts texting Diana Ross because he was asked that question, because nobody had ever fucking asked that question. Smokey even said, no, I never heard that. That's good, man. That's a good one. That's what Smokey said. That's a good one. I never heard that. And then he says, has Diana heard it? And he starts calling Diana because he's like, he had to call Diana instantly and say, somebody just asked me if we were Michael Jackson's real parents. So he knows that the story's out. And Smokey, I've heard Smokey talk before about the fans. Smokey was saying, man, if there's something I need to know, I just ask the fans. He's like, they know everything. So Smokey already understands. When somebody asks that question, he already knows in his head. Those fucking fans, man, they're smart as fuck. They know what they fucking see. They see shit that people don't see. So Smokey knows he's busted, but they're just laying back now, just they don't know what to do. They know that exposing this is going to cause all kinds of ripples and waves and it's going to literally change the world. That's the kind of thing with you, Justin Gamble. If you got involved with me, you could participate in a fucking changing of the world. That's the thing with your t-shirt company, you dumb motherfucker. You have no idea of the fucking shit that I can make. My merchandise off of my American Scheme, because that's my name, and my photo that I use for my American Scheme, and all the other shirts that I can create because of the story I'm telling. Dude, there's a fucking $1 billion fucking industry of producing fucking clothing, of which I was going to offer to you to fucking manufacture the shit. But no, your dumb ass just wants to sit up here drinking and selling cards and thinking you're a big fucking celebrity and all this bullshit. Writing stupid, fake fucking gangster songs. So fuck all that shit. You ain't impressed me, motherfucker. All right. Been talking crazy long enough and shit. Let's get out of here. Bye.